Well, as we continue to wait for the outcome of the Seventh Circuit Court of Appeals case challenging Illinois' gun and magazine ban, we're also awaiting the outcome of the Illinois Supreme Court's hearing on the gun and magazine ban. Welcome back. It is Springfield's Morning News. I'm Greg Bishop on 92.7 WMAY. Springfield's News and Talk. You can always call in live and local at 217-629-7970. Love to hear your thoughts anytime. You can also email bishoponair@gmail.com. So let's talk about where we're at right now. Of course, we had the Seventh Circuit Court of Appeals hear the case brought by plaintiffs groups from Southern Illinois and by plaintiffs up in Northern Illinois. Different outcomes in those courts. And again, this is federal court. So just to make sure we understand this, federal court. In federal courts, the president is the one that ultimately appoints, and then the U.S. Senate approves the various judges that are in these districts for federal court. So you've got the cases in the Southern District where the judge there granted a preliminary injunction. That only halted the law for 6 days while the state went to the Seventh Circuit Court of Appeals and got a stay on that injunction, essentially meaning that the injunction's not in place. And again, that injunction only lasted 6 days. Still a lot of questions as to what happens to those individuals who purchased firearms during that 6-day window that fit into this category that the state decided to ban with the Protect Illinois Communities Act. State police say that those weapons will not be able to be registered come January 1st, 2024 because they were purchased after the January 10th, 2023 effective date. So still questions there, but that's the Southern District. In the Northern District, you had district judges up there in the federal courts side with the state on multiple cases. So what the Seventh Circuit Court of Appeals did is they smashed all those cases together. They heard that last month. So we're approaching, I think, a full month here of them having taken that under advisement with a 3-judge panel, and still no determination as to what's going on with the federal court case. Now, the state court case, that's something entirely different. The state courts, the Illinois Supreme Court, it only handles state challenges in state court. So you had the case from Dan Calkins in Macon County. The judge there declared that the law was unconstitutional. It then went straight to the Illinois Supreme Court because of a different case from Tom DeVore that actually secured an appellate court ruling that the case could advance on its merits. Since Calkins' case was very similar to DeVore's case, after the Macon County judge made their deal, they bypassed the appellate court, went straight to the Illinois Supreme Court. They heard that when? In April, or was it May? I think it was May. We're still waiting on the Illinois Supreme Court's ruling as well. But what's interesting is, and this doesn't deal with the federal courts. Again, the federal courts, the judges in the district and the appellate courts are appointed by the president and approved by the Senate. The Illinois Supreme Court, you have them being voted on by you, the electorate. So you vote for who's going to be Illinois Supreme Court Justice. We had an election last year, and there's been a lot of talk about conflicts of interest because while these Supreme Court justices are elected by the people, you had Governor J.B. Pritzker, House Speaker Chris Welch, and also Senate President Don Harmon through a different political fund all donate to 2 justices in particular of question, Mary O'Brien and Elizabeth Rochford. Pritzker himself giving each of the 2 candidates $1 million each. And that's raised significant questions about judicial integrity. We've talked about this quite a bit. So what we have now is the option of really anybody can file with the Judicial Integrity Board. And this is a panel that's appointed by the governor. And ultimately, they field complaints about judges and justices, and they investigate if they see it's warranted and move on from there. Well, we've got 2 different letters I'm going to cover here. One was from May, another was from July, and it deals with questions of conflicts of interest, especially when it comes to the issue of these justices taking campaign contributions of $1 million each from Governor J.B. Pritzker while they are going to be the jurists overseeing challenges of laws that Governor J.B. Pritzker signed and enacted. One being the Protect Illinois Communities Act. Again, we're still waiting on the outcome from the Illinois Supreme Court on that. The other being the Safety Act and the no cash bail, which earlier this month we saw the Illinois Supreme Court, including these 2 justices that are in question, siding with the state in upholding no cash bail. These two cases in particular are huge, but there's been questions about conflicts of interest. So I just want to read from a May 15th letter from the Judicial Inquiry Board that I received. It said the Judicial Inquiry Board has concluded its review of the allegations detailed in your complaint against Illinois state court judges and has determined to close the matter. The board's determination to close the complaints is in no way an opinion on the merits of your court case. Please note that the board is prohibited, pursuant to the confidentiality provisions contained in the constitutional authority and rules and procedures, from disclosing specifics regarding the deliberations, findings, or decisions concerning any matter. Meaning that it's not really possible to see what the deliberations were like. Can we FOIA the Judicial Inquiry Board? From my understanding, you cannot. So who knows what the deliberations were like. Another letter I want to share with you was shared by a Mom at Arms blogger who got a different letter. This one's dated July 18th, and it says the Judicial Inquiry Board has concluded review of the allegations detailed in your complaint against Illinois state court judges and has determined to close the matter. The board's determination to close the complaints is in no way an opinion of the matter in your court case. Please note the board is prohibited pursuant to confidentiality. It's the same letter. It's the same letter. A different date, right? One letter I got sent to me was May 15th. Another letter that is shared online is from July 18th. So essentially what you have here is complaints about conflicts of interests of these two justices hearing cases that deal with laws Governor J.B. Pritzker signed and enacted when Pritzker donated to these two justices in their election last year. These complaints are being dismissed. No way does this form letter apparently no way does that mean that they're giving an opinion on the merits of the case, but obviously it shows you that there have been people trying to get the Judicial Inquiry Board, a board that's supposed to field complaints, investigate, and possibly have some actions against judges or justices. These haven't gone anywhere. So what happens now is really a question that I think a lot of people have. But then we get into the issue of the state trying to limit who can exactly sue and where they can sue the state over laws they find unconstitutional. And you have that now signed, and it's enacted immediately. And we have one case that Thomas Magg brought out of Madison County that deals specifically with this. It's a 2-count case that Thomas Magg brought on behalf of an individual who ultimately wanted to get a FOID card, couldn't get the FOID card because of the prohibition on certain individuals who have, say, a cannabis conviction in the past, and that prohibited this individual from getting the FOID card. So they're challenging that. That's the first count. Then the second count gets into the issue of this law that prohibits where you can sue. And if you recall, the law that the legislature passed along party lines essentially says that you can't sue anywhere against the state unless it's in Springfield, Sangamon County, or unless it's in Cook County up in Chicago. None of the other 100 counties that are out there. Well, let's see where we're at with this particular challenge of the law that Thomas Magg has. And we're looking at the Madison County Court docket for a case that Gary Myers brought against Brendan Kelly, challenging the FOID card, which is a constitutional challenge. And if you look here, the latest is that, you had proof of service to Brendan Kelly. And then you've got even further here, and I want to make sure that we get this for the viewing audience as well. Further, you've got notice of removal filed by Brendan Kelly. So just 2 days ago, Brendan Kelly filed a notice to remove that. I'm going to have to connect with Thomas Magg to get his take on this, because if you recall, Magg told us that he essentially said he dares the state to try to remove this from Madison County So we'll get to the latest on this. Obviously, that's a developing story just a couple of days ago, that motion being made. So we'll follow up on that. But that's kind of where we're at in the grand scheme of challenging Illinois' gun and magazine ban. In the federal court, still waiting. In the state courts, still waiting. In the Illinois Supreme Court. And challenges of conflicts of interest filed to the Judicial Inquiry Board not being advanced, at least in 2 instances that I've got letters attributed to. And then you've got the question of where we're at with the law that blocks people from suing on constitutional grounds, state statutes and state court, to only Sangamon or Cook County instead of the 100 other counties across the state. So that's where we're at with all of that. I know it's can get kind of convoluted when we need like a big whiteboard or something, but that's really where we're at with all of this. It is Springfield's Morning News. I'm Greg Bishop on 92.7 WMAY, Springfield's News and